The trust factor there, it's just very scary the way people just trust blindly what the outputs are. It kind of reminds me of the whole topic of fake news, right? And how we've all had it happen. Your crazy uncle or your grandma or your parents or someone sends you an article or it's like, did you see the video about this? And you're like, that was not real, like that was a hoax, whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, you opened Pandora's box in a sense, and
Which
you meant
one?
that's fair. And well, you meant AI, and look, we
Okay.
made
Yeah.
minutes of a conversation without this topic, but we're failing
Yeah.
in it. Going to talk about it. So, Sarah,
Yeah.
I would like to know your thoughts on utilizing AI within user experience.
Yeah. There's so many applications, right? And I think the through line for me is that it can help us in our jobs tremendously, right? I look at it as a thought partner, as a brainstorming tool, as a way to like help you vet ideas and things. But I think the big misconception, and I mean, I'm not an expert, right? I'm learning this too every single day. I have like lists of videos I need to watch on Claude right now, but I think it's only as good as the inputs we give it, and I think it goes back to a conversation I was having with a friend just this morning around the very real feeling that what the hell is happening to critical thinking right now? And if we're
Right?
outsourcing so much to AI, what is the quality of inputs that we're giving it? And so I don't really believe it's going to take our jobs because I don't think uh, people are necessarily smart enough to be giving it the right inputs and context to begin with. That probably sounds like brutal, but I just think you can't just open up Lovable and tell it to make your startup idea and like in 3 sentences, then you get VC funding. You mean like it's absurd.
I'm sure there's some folks who would love that.
If there's a magic prompt I'm missing, someone let me know. It comes down to critical thinking. And I think it's that tension of if we're outsourcing our thinking to AI, what the hell is happening to our critical thinking? It makes me very scared, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The critical thinking thing is something that keeps kind of haunting me because there's so many circumstances where they're inputting a prompt, they're taking
Yeah.
the output and running with it without heavy review.
Yeah. The trust factor there, it's just very scary the way people just trust blindly what the outputs are. It kind of reminds me of the whole topic of fake news, right? And how we've all had it happen. Your crazy uncle or your grandma or your parents or someone sends you an article or it's like, did you see the video about this? And you're like, that was not real, like that was a hoax, whatever. And it's like the same way that you really have to work to vet news. I think the same needs to apply to AI. And if we're still getting fooled by news sites, I'm very nervous about our ability to vet what comes out of AI.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally with you. And I think another trend that I'm hearing about a lot is synthetic users. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. I mean, it all goes back to research, right? We need to operate from conversations with real people, with the information that we can learn about people and their circumstances through building a relationship with them, even if it's just an hour interview. I mean, this morning, I had a few crazy conversations this morning, I guess, but one of them was with a friend, and she runs kind of like a coaching program for people who have their own mental health practices. And she was saying it's just really amazing how so many people have lost like the art of just building relationships, just conversation and listening and asking follow-up questions and stuff. And I think you can ask AI to generate some users for you, but what is it generating those from? Right? Are people even asking Claude, for example, after it generates some user, what did you base this off of? I guess a lot of people don't ask those questions.
Yeah, probably not. They just
Yeah.
think this sounds legit, right?
Yeah. Or it's like Sally has 2 kids and a dog and likes Starbucks and shops at Target, the most cliche stuff you could possibly imagine, you know?
Yeah. That whole thing, like personas and the stuff that goes into persona, that's a whole
Yeah.
different oh, we're not gonna go there, girl. Yeah, don't get me started on personas. I was talking to a friend and she was saying that her manager was saying, hey, leadership's pushing these synthetic users. So we've got to look into these. And if we can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
What do
And
you think?
were they using these synthetic users to base decisions when they were building the product, or were they using synthetic users to like conduct usability tests on their product? I mean, it's scary.
Yeah, they hadn't used them yet. They were just
Okay.
saying, got to start using them. And it
Yeah.
kind of like, why? Just
Yeah.
because, just use a tool for the sake of using a tool?
Yeah. I think you are going to miss so much context and so much detail by not, say it was usability testing, for example, sitting there and observing someone use that product. I mean, I've sat through so many, and it's just their facial expressions or how they're using the mouse. Are they like white knuckling the mouse because they're so pissed off? Or are they like, it's happening even with their body language? And I think getting that by some synthetic user, through some usability tests, for example. And, the, AI is trying to please us, right? So is it always just going to say, like, was easy, bought my couch, whatever the task was? Yeah.
Yeah, that sycophantic angle, that's a good point, Sarah. I hadn't really thought about that because AI is very
Yeah.
pleasing.
Yeah. We've all seen the responses from Claude when it's just like the cringiest, like cheerleading, weird. I don't even know what language to use to describe it,
Yes. Oh, it's so much. I agree. I don't know, Sarah. It doesn't sound like you feel like AI is going to take a UX researcher's job.
I don't think so. I think it can speed up our jobs. Like I myself have so much more research and more data that I know what to do with, it feels like. And do I like anonymize it and then have it help me spot trends? I'm really good at remembering like keywords and phrases from interviews or forms people filled out or something like that. And it's just so easy to have it go through in, seconds. So I think personally, it's helping me speed up analyzing research at a very high level. And another thing I find it really useful for is bringing data from different places together to help me. This was over in this form, and this was in this Airtable, and this was in this whatever, and to manually do that. And so I think I'm really embracing it to help me speed up. But I think one of the things I'm trying to be really mindful of is not allowing myself to have like that. I call it kind of a false sense of progress trap where I get so into the data and like rabbit holing. And then I'm like, eventually there's kind of diminishing returns. I should have just stopped 2 days ago or 2 hours ago and made a decision and acted on it versus like swimming in more data. So I think for me personally, that's one of the dangers because I can go through such volume of data so quickly. I personally need to be mindful that I'm not delaying taking action and making decisions. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but it has its pros, and I have to just be very innocent of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That
Yeah,
kind of analysis paralysis, right?
exactly. Yeah, just it's not going to take our jobs. And we've all had AI lie to us too, right? Have it help me with my podcast, as I'm sure many people do. And it's written descriptions and it says, and so worked at this company. And I'm like, they didn't work at that company, appreciate the speed, but it's an accuracy thing too. If I was looking for quotes from user research interviews, I would tell it, give me the exact timestamp of where that was to try and, shit. Or I would go to the transcript myself and search the quote And I've definitely run into scenarios where it's like, oh no, they didn't actually say that. That was summarized from the whole conversation. And I'm like, wait a sec. Yeah.
No, and how frustrating is that? It's like, why are you
Yeah.
lying to me?
Yeah. It's mind blowing how much it lies on basic stuff. We have to double, triple check its work, let alone our work.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
AI to being compared to an intern. You've got to check their work.
Yeah. 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 If you're going to use AI, great. But especially if you're giving me a deliverable, you better double check that. Because if it comes back to me and I am the person that discovers it hallucinated, I'm not going to be too happy about that, you know?
Very, very true.
Yeah.